Hello again, it's the 20th of February 2023 and here I am still. I'm sitting in the bookshed at the bottom of the garden, now devoid of archaeology books, but it's a very nice little spot to sit in. It's a bit like how I imagine Roald Dahl's shed at the bottom of his garden might have been when he was writing his masterworks. And speaking of Roald Dahl, did you hear the other day that Penguin Random House, who apparently have bought up the entire rights to his works, have been busily beavering away in their little offices, doing their politically correct thing, and they've produced new versions of all his children's books, and they've changed the wording in incomprehensible ways. They've taken away the magic and the poetry, and they've made it mundane and silly, to be honest. Plus, what right do they think they have to mess about with the works of a writer who has spent his life studying the art of writing? These pipsqueak little editor people. Honestly, I advise everybody to go out and buy up old copies of Roald Dahl's works and never touch with a barge pole any of this new rubbish that they're putting out. They just, we've got to make a stand here. Anyway, so here I am sitting in my shed having pretensions to write. I haven't written anything for ages. I turned 70 last November. I'm old. I don't know how much longer I'll be around. I can probably spend my remaining days doing anything I'm mentally capable of still doing, which is not as much as it used to be, unfortunately. It would be nice to write a book. I have had a go, and the more I write, the more I realise that it is an art and a skill, and it's something that you have to work at quite a lot more than what I have done so far. And you know, you can write a book, but is it going to be something anybody will be interested in? There are so many aspects to writing. I was at the allotment about a month ago trying to tidy up, and I was thinking to myself, actually, I don't need to have two allotments. It's greedy when other people could be using them, and I haven't really got the energy anymore, what with being 70 and what with having had COVID and, I don't know, general wear and tear. Seems like time to begin to take it a bit more easy, and one allotment is fine, so we've given up one allotment. So yesterday was nice and sunny, and we were down there doing some tidying up, and Chris was fixing the roof on the little lean-to at the back, which had been rotting away and falling in, and it turns out somebody's already been allocated half of our old allotment, and they're busy there. There's mummy and daddy and grandpa and grandma and the kiddies all rotivating and strimming away, and I'm thinking, this is lovely. I hope they manage to keep it up, because so often people take over an allotment and then they go away and other things take over. I know what it's like, you know, it's just so hard to get up the motivation to do anything. I wonder if, in fact, we need to be motivated by fear, because it strikes me that most things that we try and do nowadays are motivated by fear. It's like we wash our hands, we sanitize, we avoid people, we take whatever medication the government decides is good for us, we listen to all the latest health advice even though it contradicts the last health advice, and it's all driven by fear of what will happen if we don't do as we're told. And I wonder if there's any other way to get motivated. I keep threatening myself that if I don't practice my violin, I'll get rid of the violin. But I don't want to do that. I think it all goes back to when we're children and our parents are threatening us and, you know, if you don't do this, you'll know about it, this kind of thing. And governments take on the role of parents in a way, and so do religions, and all the cults that are springing up now, putting the fear of being cancelled into everybody. It's an awful way to have to live. I'm old enough that I don't care that much anyway. I mean, it would be nice not to end my days in jail or beaten up or something like that. But I can probably more or less say what I like, except that if I say it on YouTube, I might get taken down. So far, I haven't experienced that, but you never know. I do notice that since a few years back, YouTube told me that they were demonetizing me. I thought it was permanent. I thought they weren't going to put any more adverts on my videos. But when I look back on some of my old videos, they do have adverts. And I'm thinking, who's getting the money for those adverts going on my old videos? it's all a screwed up kind of a world, and it's like dog eat dog, and if you're not bright enough to fight for your corner, or rich enough, or have enough powerful friends or whatever, then too bad. I think people do need rules and structures. I know that the times I've been to the dentist, I've only been because of a sense of duty and fear of what would happen if I didn't go. I haven't been since before the lockdowns and things. I don't even know if I'm still registered with my dentist, who was one of, I don't know, about 3 remaining NHS dentists in the country. They've probably kicked me off because they have such a long waiting list and I haven't contacted them for so long. But yeah, I mean, I don't have the urge to go to another dentist or even contact the same one, because they haven't contacted me and said, oh, you should come and see us. If they did that, I probably would. And that's how it goes. Mind you, I did get an invitation from the NHS to make an appointment for a mammogram. And again, if they'd sent me an actual appointment, I might have gone to it. But because they said you've got to phone and make an appointment, I decided I can't be bothered. I'm over 70. You've got to die of something. And I hear that the mammograms are not all that effective at picking things up and false positives and whatever. So yeah, I'm just wallowing in a morass of laziness, basically. Not doing very much at all except watch videos on YouTube, which is fair enough, I guess, for an old pensioner. But I also occasionally get the urge to make videos, because it's all a bit one way listening to other people, and you want people to hear your own voice. And then I think, do I have a voice? Do I have anything really to say that anybody's going to want to hear? I don't know. And then I think of things I would like to say, and then the moment passes and I don't say them. There we go. I suppose the main bee in my bonnet, the thing that makes me the most indignant, is the way that we've had agency taken away from us by so-called experts who turn out not to be experts after all. You see, when I was young, I lived on a small holding. My dad was very keen on horticulture and nature and natural remedies and growing his own fresh organic vegetables. And he'd go out with his little tractor and trailer and gather up all the bracken from the common round about where we lived and make his own compost, huge heaps of compost. And he was dead keen on growing. He used to drive my mother mad, though, because he would never weed. And when she nagged at him, he would just disappear off up to the bedroom and practice his fiddle instead. But some of it percolated through to me, and although I kind of gave up doing the wholemeal bread and the hot compresses and cold compresses and that sort of thing, I've sort of gone back to it in recent years. I make my own bread again. Completely wholemeal bread is a bit too heavy, so I normally mix it half wholemeal and half white, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be much better than buying that squidgy chemical-filled stuff that you get wrapped in plastic in the supermarket. And that's one of my big bugbears, is all the plastic you find everywhere. It's not good enough to say, oh, you can recycle it. The mantra originally was reduce, reuse, recycle. Well, reducing is what would clearly be the most logical thing to do, and yet you can't, because it's foisted on you. Go around a supermarket. How many things are there available that are not wrapped in plastic? And they have bins at the entrance now. You can put your soft plastics in here. I don't want the plastic in the first place. I've heard that soft plastic gives off molecules of something or other that can get in our bloodstreams, and if I had more of a memory I could tell you what it was, but I can't. But you know, you can look it up. It seems like common knowledge. I do not want to buy my food wrapped in plastic in the first place. So it's quite important to me to still have the urge to go out to the allotment and weed and water and produce my own food. I think it's an important component of being healthy, of taking charge of your own health. So I'm droning on a bit now, and I doubt very much whether I'm going to increase my audience by droning in this way. I have a question for you if you're watching this. What is the one thing you would change about yourself if a fairy godmother came along and said, I've got this magic wand here, I'll wave my magic wand, I can grant you one thing that you would change about yourself? What would you change? In my case, I think it would be the way my brain works. I know I'm Aspergery, I'm kind of verging on autistic. And the awful thing about this is it stops your thoughts from translating into words instantly. A lot of people can just talk and talk and talk, and I can't. I have to stop and pause, and it's so annoying. And I see other people on YouTube who have this method of presentation. They stop and they think about it. People like Lady C, oh my God, she rambles on, and River. I mean, they're interesting people, but it's difficult to listen to them because of their method of delivery and the fact they have to keep stopping and thinking. And I know I do this myself, so this is the one thing I would ask to have changed, but unfortunately I don't have a fairy godmother waving her magic wand, and I'll have to put up with it. But thank goodness for jump cuts, hey? Anyway, back to the topic of being scared into doing things by authorities. I don't know if it's a good thing or not. It seems in a way necessary to have this kind of obligation on you, but on the other hand, it's led to a situation where people don't trust authorities anymore because we've got social media and different news outlets that help us to find out what's going on. It seems pretty obvious to anyone with the internet and the brain in their head that you can't trust everything you hear, and you have to make your own judgment. You know, I went along with all the I don't even know if they'll let me say this now. It's dreadful, isn't it? I went along with the governmental medications to prevent death from the dreadful virus that came from somewhere in China. I went along with it because I thought, well, I've got a social conscience. I'm not that bothered for myself, although I wouldn't like to suddenly pop my clogs when I haven't quite finished my earthly business. But chiefly, it was the idea that it has been said that if we all do this, it will prevent people from dying. The people who are vulnerable, the people who need protecting. And I thought, right, well, what have I got to lose? I'll just go along with it and do my civic duty. So I did that twice, thinking, yeah, and if it protects me from actually catching this awful infection, then it's a bonus. But unfortunately it didn't, so we got the infection. And then they're starting to talk about boosters and how even if you've had the infection, your natural immunity is not going to be sufficient and you must have this booster. Oh, for goodness sake. I mean, I went along with it one time, and then I thought, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life enthralled to a government that thinks they've got to give me these things every however long they think it's going to be before the next one, and spending all my money. They tax me on my pension, and they're spending all my tax money on these bloody useless pharmaceuticals, and the profits all going to America. And I've had enough, no more. Completely lost my trust. And the sad thing about all this is how it polarizes people. So many people resorted to using terms of abuse to describe people of the opposite persuasion to themselves, like if you voted to stay in the European Union, you're a Remoaner. I mean, I voted to stay in the European Union, and okay, we're out now. Well, let's just move on, but let's, for goodness sake, not shoot ourselves in the foot over it. And I am certainly not a Remoaner, whatever that might be. And the Brexiters were the ones who decided we should leave. But then there was the medical emergency, and the government declared war on viruses, and if you didn't like the way the government was waging its war, you were an anti-vaxxer, which you probably weren't. You probably just wanted to have more information that they weren't giving you, and it turns out that there was information that we should have had and didn't have, and it's all very manipulated, and it's turning people against each other. I think people have a natural urge to form into groups, and they want certainty. They want to know what's the right thing to believe, so they don't have to keep thinking about it anymore, because it's quite hard work working things out all the time. And once they know what they believe, they want to be able to get rid of everybody else who believes something different, so it doesn't challenge them. And the online fights are horrendous. Anyway, so I'm going to continue making some videos here and there, if I can summon up the motivation in my old age. And if I get an audience, that's a bonus, and it's quite nice to think that people are hearing what you're saying. And if not, well, I've had fun making them anyway. Keeps me occupied, keeps me off the streets or whatever. So may I wish you a wonderful day, and remember, whatever people say to you, there's always at least half a dozen other opinions that are not all invalidated by what that person says. Bye.